You're listening to The Sister Drill with Danae and Kiveli.
I'm a fan of many of these like symbolic rituals. Another one that immediately comes to mind that where we disagree, kind of, is wedding.
Yeah, I was also just thinking of that wedding. I mean, what do you mean we disagree?
Well,
I don't disagree on the ritual of wedding.
I want one.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah?
don't.
Well, I mean, what do you mean I don't?
Well, I mean,
that's
that
not entirely true.
up until 3.5 weeks ago, where the possibility of maybe you potentially engaging with the idea of maybe having a small wedding, you were very much like you don't want a wedding.
No, I think
we
definitely disagree on, how it should be or why it should be. For me, for example, this is a ritual that, first of all, where does it come from? It comes from, faith and also arranged marriages, actually, is where the wedding comes from. So I kind of totally disagree with the origin of the ritual. Nothing about those two things, the becoming one in faith and also the becoming one entity financially from the arranged marriage is something that resonates with me.
Right, but I would like to add a third, I would say, origin, something which I think it is. Sure, I mean, it was religiously ordained, like it would happen at a church or the array, but I think it's also two people acknowledging and making it public in a way that they will be partners in life.
No, but that's not where it came
child
from.
rearing.
No, but that's not where it came from. Back then, you were marrying the person that you were supposed to marry. That's why I'm saying arranged marriages. And you loved your lover or your mistress, or it was not an open declaration of love.
I didn't say being partners in life in terms of like lovers. I'm talking about like shouldering the responsibilities of life together. Exactly. That's what I meant.
Yeah. But that for me goes under the thing of
an arranged
kind
marriage
of an arranged marriage.
Yeah, but
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
like
but
shouldering life together. Also financially, it makes a lot of sense for many people.
Yeah, but I mean also like from a symbolic perspective. Like even if I think of like a Middle Ages like type of situation, this first of all, it's like an acknowledgement of the fact that you
belong to somebody now.
No, again, that like, going through life together, that life has many, I would say, things you need to battle. Well, yeah.
Uh-huh.
For example, an acknowledging of the fact that raising children works better in pairs. It's one of the things, right? Which I agree with.
But
I'm not
have
saying it's impossible
that
otherwise.
I'm raising in a pair, and I'm not married.
Yeah, but you were talking about the origin. I'm saying like for me there is
I'm
a lot
speaking
of
about why
I
say that the
of a
ritual
communion between
itself doesn't resonate with me. The ritual of wedding itself, in its origins, doesn't resonate with me because I feel like I can have all the positive things that come from it. As you say, raising children in pair probably is the number one thing that comes to mind. I already have that.
Right.
No need for the ritual.
And I also think that, there is a very, very, very deep truth, and that comes from the fact that, no matter in which school of philosophy or religion or anything you look at, of this like, two halves making a whole type of situation, where
I don't like to look at myself as a half.
No, I know, and I wouldn't necessarily reduce that to like half being one person, the other person, two people. I think it can also be in a way looked at like two halves of yourself, like there's like yin and yang, needn't be man and woman.
But
I
was just going to say that I don't like to look at myself as a yin that is looking for a yang.
I totally understand that, and I, by the way, don't like that either.
Yeah.
However, I think that there needs to be, or at least if I'm honest with myself, like there is a part of myself that I cannot think away that both lusts, wants to like pair bonding is a very, very deep-seated need.
What do you mean pair bonding?
I mean finding someone to be in a pair with.
Right. I mean, look, I don't deny at all that we need a companion in life,
Right, and like a pair, but like long-term companion.
A long-term companion.
Exactly.
But do we need to be married to that companion? That's a different story.
Yeah, and I think what a wedding and what a marriage kind of symbolizes and signifies is like that
the
decision. I found the companion.
But
in a
you
way,
do understand that this is
it's not needed.
It's not needed, and that it is something that has been imposed upon us from society, that if you want to make a lifelong commitment, then get married. But, you can absolutely make a lifelong commitment either with your own ritual, I don't know.
Right, sure,
or
of
just
course,
without
of course,
a ritual.
of course.
Yeah.
But I mean...
But having
it's
said
the
that,
same way as you can have, when we do these rituals before the concerts or getting...
Exactly.
You can do all of that without the ritual as well. But
although
yet you
I
do
find
it
like
because
this
it
is
gives
different,
a different
because,
feeling to
because
it.
these rituals are something that happen before a more difficult situation.
Right, and the
every single
difficult
time.
situation is
And
life.
Here, exactly.
When
and
it comes to marriage.
Yeah, but here this is ridiculous, because this is a one-time ritual that happens before, not before one difficult situation. It's not like you get remarried before every difficult stage in your life.
Some people redo their vows
because that
every
might
10
be
years.
That might be an interesting thing to do, to see marriage as whenever there's something difficult coming up, let's get remarried because it's a ritual before the difficult.
No, I mean, first of all, marriage, of course, has attached to it. I mean, it's a bit of a bigger ritual than, for example, wearing the right lip gloss.
The ritual of marriage.
And it does
wait
come before deciding to spend your life together.
The ritual of marriage. The ritual of marriage
financial.
happens. The ritual of marriage happens.
Rich or poorer.
Normally.
Hard and easy. I'm not sure exactly how the vows go.
Yeah, hard and easy.
Well, when you're, you know what I mean? Like when for rich or for poor, in sickness and in health.
Sickness and better and worse.
For
whatever.
better and worse, something like that,
Yeah, but
until
the ritual of marriage happens usually when your life is completely harmless and intact, when you don't have kids yet, when you don't have, financial troubles yet, you probably haven't even bought your first house together, everything is easy peasy. You're probably still living at home. This is actually where marriage comes from, right? And then you get married, and then
the living at home now.
No, but this is where it comes from.
No, I understand.
Also,
what you're
the
saying.
pre-kids, same thing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then you get married, and then your life together starts. So the ritual of marriage is not, let's make a ritual to prepare us for life, but it's actually, the way it's celebrated is, it's supposed to be one of the best days of your life. You have a party.
But
you're celebrating.
Hang on, but I mean, life
together.
I mean, but hang on, life always has
I'm trying to tell you that
difficulty to
yes,
it.
but I'm trying to tell you that it's a big difference having a ritual before a concert where you're nervous, and having a big ritual, which is marriage before life. You're not doing it as, a preparation for, okay, let's get married so that you are my partner when my grandma dies.
No, but no.
It's as you say, it's a general thing for life in general.
No, but it is, let's get married so you're my partner when I try to realize my dreams in life and you try to realize yours.
Yes, but I feel like the ritual has nothing to do with actually being that partner. That's what I mean. I feel like the ritual is very separate from the actions that come in the marriage, which is also why. I'm not done.
No,
I'm not
hang
done.
on.
because I'm really not done. Because this is why people that also have a monstrous, huge, amazing wedding are not exactly guaranteed a monstrous, huge, amazing marriage.
Yeah, but hang on. Wait a second. First of all, any ritual, the fact that it is a ritual, can be completely separate from what it wants to do. You can have, you can do all the good habits. It just has it's more of a question whether you like rituals or not, how attached you are to this idea of, going through rituals and meaning-inducing events in order to celebrate or announce,
how much meaning does it have to you personally?
Right, celebrate and announce a change or something in your life, right? The fact that, of course, you can have all these things without the wedding. You can have, which brings me back to, you can have many of the other things like taking care of yourself and playing a good concert without all the rituals attached to it. It's more of a question,
but
someone very pragmatic
to you. And we're talking about what type of meaning the ritual of a wedding has to me.
I'm going to go ahead and say,
to me personally, I told you, the way I started this whole conversation was, I don't agree with the meaning of the ritual of the wedding, the arranged marriage feeling and the faith connected feeling. Those two meanings I don't agree with. Can I find a meaning that I agree with? Yes. Can I focus on that meaning if I ever have an own wedding ceremony? Yes.
But if I added a third, rather than faith and financial is what you said, right? Yeah. Which was this kind of more symbolic shouldering the responsibilities of life together from here on until forever, right?
This is the one I'm going to focus on.
Right, but I'm saying that one has been there always. Well, that one has always been there, and is not one that's now just been introduced.
I feel like it hasn't always been there.
I feel that that's the... I mean, okay, why do you think that marriage, or even we've spoken about that once, monogamy, right, which goes against, in a way, maybe the natural instinct, especially of the male population, but probably also the female population, you know, why did that win over the polygamous, more, you know, like community-driven societies? And I think that there is something very true about the fact that two people together, mostly man and a woman, need not be a man and a woman, but two people together focusing on shaping the next generation and focusing on surviving together in the face of, let's just say 500 years ago, war, brutality, outlaws, famine, sickness, natural catastrophes, works better than one person by themselves doing it.
I have so much to say about that, because when you say
hang on, so wait. So when which is the reason why more people decided to get married and live in these type of combinations together than in others. This is not to say that others don't work. There is all of that.
No, I mean, the way why I'm saying that is because,
which is why I'm saying the shouldering the responsibility.
When you say monogamy, I mean, there's now many ways to interpret this. You know, married to one person, monogamy. Okay,
let's start with just that. Or let's start with marriage to one person. Because having like, you know, mistresses and lovers on the side.
Yes.
For me, does not necessarily mean that you cannot fulfill the shouldering responsibility of life together.
What I want to say is
it doesn't take away your priority on the partner.
Whoa. Okay. What I want to say is that our species did not always have the model of let's have two people come together and then shoulder responsibilities together and go through life together.
No, which is interesting why that one is the one that found the most resonance in humanity in the past 2,000 years due to faith also. But it's interesting to note that despite our nature...
It was exactly because of faith, because, you know, otherwise people were regarded as outlaws or whatever if you didn't, you know, subject to that. But I just want to put in here for anyone who's interested in how the human biology and mind concerning that subject actually works, a book for you to read. It's called Why Sex is Fun. There's nothing pornographic about it, although it sounds like that. It's actually the evolution of how we as humans interact sexually with each other. And it tells you a lot about monogamy or the lack thereof. It tells you a lot about raising children and how the woman chooses... Yeah, but I haven't spoken about it on the podcast, have I now?
Okay, go.
About how the woman chooses a man as the father of her kids, not based on... because he's going to raise the kids with her, but because he is strong and he has good genes. And because she wants the strongest hunter to be the father of her kids so that her kids can be strong and survive. So she chooses him. And then within the tribe, she actually chooses the less strong hunter-gatherer type person who is going to raise the kids with her, because he's the one that will actually stick with her through thick and thin. And I just want to
I would choose that as well. Are you kidding?
Yeah, but
love it.
I'm just mentioning that to say that it is not true that the best model and the most successful model for us has been to, you know, pick one man, like I'm now speaking from the female perspective, pick one man who then we do everything with, because this, as we see in today's divorce rates, has miserably failed us. This is why I really think it's important for us to realize that, you know, marriage and the myth of happily ever after of the man with the good genes that sticks with us and on our deathbed is not necessarily true.
What has miserably failed us is the fact that the ease with which you can get divorced and the fact that getting divorced has far less direct consequences has made people give up on marriages probably far quicker and easier.
But there seems to be a reason that they give up on them.
And I wouldn't say that people are happier with the state of their relationships long-term in life in our generation than, for example, in the generation of our grandparents or parents.
I mean, now, we cannot answer that question. We cannot answer, but I would not
correlate the divorce rates of nowadays to the fact that we're kind of tapping that the experiment of marriage or the idea of a monogamous relationship has failed.
Experiment.
Now, what you were saying about the tribe models and everything, there are many more very interesting models that I'm sure are very interesting and could maybe for some people or objectively work better. Hard for me to say, but I find it very attractive as a model. However,
I'm not saying it as a model. I'm saying that this is how we are even today, and we put so much pressure.
Hang on, but this is not how we are.
No, but it is.
Hang on a second. No.
It is how we are even today.
If you look, I'm not sure what you're implying with it is how we are, because I mean, if you look at the last 2,000 years, for whatever reason, Christianity, religion, Middle Ages and everything, how we acted was getting married and then not. If you cheated, it was frowned upon.
There was
frowned upon.
Can I say something?
Wait, hang on.
There
what
was
I'm trying to say is that
was done that tested on how many kids are actually from the man that the woman claims to be the father of the kids, because you say this is what we're doing, and it's not true. This is not what we're doing.
Hang on,
because
you cannot.
very often
No,
the women are choosing men to raise kids with. But that's not necessarily who the dad is.
But hang on a second. You cannot deny that the places in the world where monogamy, or at least official monogamy, outward monogamy,
let's
and
talk
marriage,
about that official
marriage became the norm and the accepted way to live, produced innovation and produced the ability to get to the place where we are today. That did not happen in other places. I'm not saying that is the main reason. No, I do think. Hang on. Then
it's a way
hang on
to
a second.
organize
Hang on a
our
second.
world.
I am not a fan of Christianity, of faith, of the dogma, of the rules, all of that. I'm not a fan of that. But I am very, very aware of the fact that the places where people followed those rules long term, and the places where that morality was spread, is the same morality that produced the most, I would say, successful enhancement of life quality through the last 1,000 years. So what I'm saying is that for sure now, where everything is possible, monogamy, let's try open relationships. And by the way, I think let us try open relationships.
I'm not talking about the open
things.
relationships. I'm not talking about the current climate. That's not what I mean.
But hang on, but in a time where, the reason why you were pair bonded to one person was in a way to curb the man's natural instinct of a wandering eye and spreading his seed and not staying with the mother, not staying with the woman he got pregnant. And on the other hand, making sure that the man who did get a woman pregnant had the most perfect and the best possibility of a woman that would nurture his offspring, right? That is necessary.
No, but listen to yourself. You are saying it yourself. It is a way to make it work.
For the kids.
For the kids, for everybody, for the woman, for everybody.
Isn't it a priority of yours to rear your children as successfully as possible?
No, wait a minute.
Because that's how to do it, especially back then.
This is back then. We're not talking about today. Let's We're talking about the ritual of a wedding, the ritual of marriage.
Which introduces this living arrangement. It introduces
arrangement?
The monogamous, together raising children forever, being loyal to each other. That's what it introduces.
And we're talking about how I personally don't like the origins of the ritual of marriage, because as you would have rather gotten pregnant by someone
than being left alone and having to raise that kid by yourself.
Absolutely not.
Because that's what I said. Would have happened without the wedding ritual back then.
Not. I'm not talking about back then. We are talking about
the origin of a wedding ritual.
Let me finish. I have two things to say. Stop talking right now. So, number one, I am not talking about back then, about me. I live today. I am unmarried today. I have very highly successfully, up to now at least, raised 2 kids unmarried. I have not been left alone. I have not been left alone pregnant. So I am the living example of how superfluous marriage has become today. Now, do I want to attach a different symbol to the ritual of wedding? Maybe. Can it become important to me then? Maybe. Do I find the symbol that marriage has back then, and this is what you were talking about now, good? No. because I find it ridiculous that you need to be married in order to have all the security that I have today in my life without being married. And this is why I'm saying, you were saying it already before. You were saying, yeah, in order for the man to not leave the woman alone after having impregnated her, he married her. And this is why
She married
society, yeah, or whatever. But I mean, this is why societies became successful, because they had these models instilled upon them, and this is how it worked best for them. And yes, this is probably why they became successful, but I find that it is fake. It is a charade, because it's not that people decided out of the love of their hearts to get married. It is just because this was the only way to be a stand-up woman, because as you said, no, you don't want to be a pregnant, unmarried woman, because you're going to be kicked off on the street back then. And this is why I don't agree with the ritual of marriage that is connected there, because remember I said two things connected to faith, either because otherwise you're not you're not Virgin Mary, so you have a problem, or financial things. And those two things I find are not good reasons to marry someone. And then you suggested that already there was a third symbol attached to it, which was that you decide to spend your life together and you decide to create this bond.
No, I said decide to shoulder the difficulties and responsibilities of life together, because by yourself, you can do so less efficiently. That's what I said.
Okay, I mean, if it's just the better of two evils, because by yourself you can do it less efficiently, so you're doing
Why is it an evil
with
to shoulder responsibility with someone else?
No, because I'm saying if you don't really do it out of love, and you just do it to shoulder the responsibilities. That's what I mean. It's a lesser of two
Obviously,
evils.
you choose someone, and then let's face it, in the areas of society that were not the aristocracy and the arranged marriages between kingdoms and, financial reasons, you would marry the person that kind of was deemed most compatible to you. Also by you, also by your parents. I mean, that also happened.
But we're talking in a time. In a time where you didn't really.
You're saying at the same time.
You're
saying I totally agree with what you were talking about, separating it today from then. But you were the one that immediately said that in the beginning of the conversation, you don't like what the wedding symbolized, but you don't like the origin of it. And because we're talking about the origin of it, I'm saying that the origin that you claim were the only two origins is not the only thing. So that's why I was saying that when I'm saying about back then, it is I'm disproving one of the reasons that you mentioned why you don't like wedding today. You don't like it today because you don't like what it symbolized back then. That's why I'm focusing on what it symbolized back then.
Yes, and back then I don't find a single symbol that I agree with, because even the shouldering responsibility together is, for me, okay, that's not a good enough reason to marry someone just because I cannot do it on my own, so I'm gonna have be married to someone who's gonna carry me through my life.
It's not.
This is what I don't agree with, and I like. What I like. Okay, let me focus on the meaning that I like.
But then what you don't like, especially if you talk about back then, things are different now with, like the different role of a woman. Also, but I'm saying if you don't like back then, I can't. You basically, I would say, fearful or ashamed or unwilling to accept the limitations of what your life would have had back then. So you don't want to accept the limitation.
No, I think it's the opposite. I think I'm less fearful. I think I'm very courageous, because I believe that I can do it myself as well, and I'm good enough. I don't need to be married in order to do it.
Yeah, but back then we're talking about a model that it was far less likely you would have made it back then without a man raising a child. I'm not saying nothing is impossible.
No, wait a minute. I'm not saying I wouldn't have gotten married back then. That's not what I'm saying. Back then, of course, I would have gotten married. I didn't have another choice, did I? As you very well said before. So you wanted to be pregnant alone? Of course not. But of course, I didn't want to be pregnant alone.
But I don't understand. I mean, there is a basic, deep-seated fear of feeling, I would say, a lifetime connection to one person.
No, because otherwise I wouldn't be in a relationship. Because I don't have fear of connection. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in a long-term relationship. My point is
the symbol of a long-term relationship back then was a wedding.
Exactly. And
that's what it was.
This is the crux of it. This is exactly my point. I'm not against relationships because I am in a relationship, right? So obviously, I'm very happy to be in a relationship and, as you said, raised kids together. Back then, of course I would have been married because I would have been forced to be married. But today, where I'm not forced to be married, where there are methods and systems in place where I can have all the good things of raising kids together, but I'm not necessarily have to be married, I am not married yet. This is my free choice. I choose to wake up every day and choose to be with my partner, not because we're legally tied to each other, but because I'm happy
The
to
fact that
actually
you
be with
the
him.
fact that you think that being whatever legally tied to each other kind of cheapens the choice of spending every morning.
No, I
decide to
don't
spend your
think
life.
it cheapens it, but I think it makes it more special if you decide every day without having the
For me,
the force
like
of the
I
legal
understand
tie.
what you're thinking, but for me, I hear and I feel much more. I don't want to be tied to the person. I want to have a quicker out if I needed to. Then, I don't want to be dependent. I don't want to be tied. Then I want to make it extra special that I choose you every morning,
I'm not
to be honest.
thinking of the out. I'm not thinking of the quicker out. I'm thinking of the more meaningful in.
I don't
I'm
agree
thinking
with
of
that.
the.
I don't
well,
think
this
that
is how
you
I
agree with a
see
more
it.
meaningful in.
This is absolutely how I see it. I'm thinking of the more meaningful in. I'm thinking of the.
I'm gonna let
wanting-
that stand, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna also say that I am very skeptical that that's
you
the
can't
motivation
be.
behind
You can't
it.
be, and you can get married super quickly when you meet the man of your dreams.
Well, I'm gonna get married. That's
Well,
for sure. Just because
do
of the
it.
wedding. Because by the way,
Do
it's the other point that I was making before we got into this whole past situation, which once again don't really agree with your perspective on it, but fine. Is the reason why I would want to get married now is not the legal issues of it, not the document. I totally understand that a document is not the thing that's going to create the love or the true commitment. You can get divorced so easily nowadays. You don't even, it's not a deterrent for not being together anymore. Not in my eyes. That's not the reason why I'd want to do it. There is the element of, I do believe, the ritual of kind of promising to yourselves in such an official and ritualistic manner, we're going to be companions for life, or we're going to do everything we can in order to be companions for life, is something very special and adds an intangible, unspoken value to a relationship that no matter how pragmatic and realistic you say you choose every morning, I totally get it. But for someone like me who does have, I would say like a connection to the more intangible, energetic, emotional sides of myself, I do believe it would feel differently.
But
without
shall I
being
tell
able to
you-
give a pragmatic reason, hang on. And that's the one thing. And the other thing is that I believe a wedding is a celebration of something positive. It's a celebration of love. It's a celebration of two people, deciding to be vulnerable with each other in a long-term way. And I believe anything that is a celebration of the more positive nature in ourselves is worthy of doing.
Yeah,
That's the other
now
thing.
I have
That's
two
the
things
event
to say.
itself.
To the celebration thing, it's almost as if you were saying the wedding is the celebration of two people being vulnerable with each other. Sounds like if you're not married, then you're not vulnerable with each other.
I'm just saying it's a celebration of that. If you're not married, you're vulnerable, but you don't you're just vulnerable. I'm not saying that you're not vulnerable. I'm just saying
because
like you
it means
celebrate
that
something positive.
It's now you're just talking about the simple celebratory, let's say, party aspect of it.
Not necessarily party. It's like putting a focus on it. Like you
but you said
invite people.
celebrating love.
It is.
Okay.
It is
I
a
mean,
focus on the day.
you can
bringing
have-
out the better
you
nature
can
of
have
everyone
parties.
involved
I
there.
mean, that's not a problem. You can have a party without a wedding also. You can just have
Sure,
a
but,
reception at your house
I mean-
celebrating that you're together for 10 years, for example. I'm just saying.
an anniversary party.
Yeah, exactly. It
Yeah.
can be I mean, you can create something similar if you wanted to
But
not be married,
a wedding
but celebrate.
a wedding
I'm
has
just saying,
certain
the
has
celebratory.
certain inbuilt things that I would say does that in a way that's very difficult to replicate with your own party. I'm sure it's possible. I'm just saying.
it's
So I mean,
possible.
no, but the celebratory aspect is.
But
On
the
the
other
day.
thing I wanted to say is I find that the moment that you decide that you want to be together for better and for worse, and that you're going to really, go through life together, for me, I've been at that moment. And that was the moment that we decided to have children together.
That's not true.
No, that is absolutely
No. I remember,
true.
and I've told you about. We've spoken about that. I remember. I don't know
can
whether you.
Can I finish my sentence? So, so when I decided to have children with my partner, this is the moment that, I mean, and it's absolutely clear where I decided that, we would be, where I knew that we would be tied for life. Because, nothing is more tying for life than having a kid. I find it more tying for life than being married when you have a kid together. So when we decided to have kids. And in our relationship, this was even very early on. It's not like we were dating for, years before that. I mean, as you know, it was a very quick decision. And when we made that decision, we had discussed everything that needed to be discussed for me to have enough confidence to know that this could work for better or for worse. We had actually discussed scenarios like, what happens if I do this? What happens if I do this? How would you react to this? We had had conversations that I've realized now when talking to other friends that have kids that are married, by the way, and that are going through difficult phases right now, even though that, they promised themselves that big love for better or for worse. They're now getting a divorce a couple of years later. And the reason why I'm mentioning is because I feel like they didn't have these conversations, which I find are very important conversations to actually create the atmosphere for better or for worse. They didn't have the conversation of what will happen if my job goes into that direction and yours into that direction. How are we going to be there for each other for better or for worse? And now their relationship is crumbling. And I feel like we had these discussions, and for me, those were super meaningful and were the moment where I decided, okay, this is going to be my partner for life. And I feel like up to now, I mean, I don't want to, ride on a high horse because my kids are the oldest one is only 4 years old. There's a lot that can obviously still happen. But up to now, compared to other people, I feel like we're doing very well. And it's very successful in our non-married, but have promised each other to be there for better or for worse.
Explain to me then the regular comments, because I remember feeling scandalized by them when you were telling me then that you were already pregnant with your first child. Not only were you pregnant, I think these comments reached into also when he'd already been born. And you were telling me, because I was saying like, wow, so this is a person I'm sure you can imagine being together with for at least the next 18, 19 years. And you were like, no. That's not true. I remember we were crossing the street in Berlin. I have that in front of me. I think at that point you were only pregnant, but for sure afterwards we were speaking about it again. It, then went into comments of course, if he would leave me tomorrow, I wouldn't be totally lost. Which that is a different comment, which I still find, I would not want, my partner to tell that about me if we've got children together. I wouldn't mind if I would leave him tomorrow. However, I do remember the specific comment that you said, you are pregnant with your first child. It does not mean that you are planning necessarily was the word, to be together with him for the next 18 years. I don't know how that goes together with you'd made that long-term commitment the moment you decided to have his kid.
Two things I have to answer to that. Number one thing is, as I said, we made the decision to have kids very early on. So obviously,
which is why I said it's not true that was the moment that you decided it was going to be.
No, it absolutely was the moment. We had kids very early on, and obviously we were still, and not were, because we are still, I believe we always are, navigating, the direction of our relationship. But back then, the direction our relationship was that we really put a big emphasis on this, what I mentioned before, not two halves creating a whole, but two wholes, let's say, if you can imagine that. Let's say two holes being on top of each other, creating a even bigger hole. So that was the dynamic of our relationship back then. So when you say the comment of, if he left me, then I would be fine, this is where that comment came from. And of course, not fine in the sense of I wouldn't be sad, but fine in the sense of I could survive both emotionally and psychologically, but also, and that's, a big point where that comment came from, also, actually practically, financially,
right.
With my job.
I'm not,
and
again.
No, I'm trying to, I'm answering your question.
Right.
I'm answering where that comment came from. Wait a minute. There is a vibe of commitment, and it also, the commitment includes that I am aware of the fact that my life will not end if this relationship.
What about the other
ends.
comment?
Then the second comment,
first one actually.
Well, I mean, the other comment, which is the one, can you say it again? I don't
Well,
remember
basically,
exactly.
I said, wow, that means that you can definitely imagine being with him for the next 20 years, let's just say.
Yeah.
And you said, no, that does not mean that at all.
Not necessarily, yeah. Because, again, when I say we made the choice to be together for better or for worse when we had a kid, even if we're not together as lovers, we would, of course, be in each other's lives. So, I mean, no, but it is true. As a kid, as two parents, if you have a kid, you are tied to each other for life.
For sure.
And in that moment, when I tell you not necessarily, what I meant by that was, if our relationship, which I sincerely hope it doesn't, but if our relationship should take a turn where it doesn't work that we live together anymore, for example, because something is just not working, I still feel confident enough in my choice with that person that we will be in each other's lives in a way that we can be, both be parents to our kids without, whatever.
I mean, it's not
hating each other and everything. And I find it so ridiculous. And I mean, I know how reflected you are in your views of relationships, but that even you are so patronizing about somebody who is, willing to acknowledge that this can be an option.
And what can be an option?
The divorce or separation. Let's say separation. That only because I'm willing to, admit that I know that separation can be an option, that you need to be so patronizing about it instead, and that, that you find that the right way to go into it is to say, we will be together forever and ever. And then when the point comes that it's not like that anymore, then it's okay, but we tried it.
No,
and I
hang
find
on.
it horrible that this is what it's like, that it's so outrageous
No,
that I say,
hang on, wait,
but we are
you're
not necessarily going to be
you're
together
totally
forever.
conflating one thing with the other.
But this is where the comment comes from this sentiment.
No. The comment does not come from the fact that I believe being
my comment.
No.
This is where my comment comes from.
but because I remember we had a very similar conversation back when you gave me that comment, right? And the issue is not being realistic about always something happening that could introduce divorce as an option,
or separation.
Obviously, there are couples that exclude that option, which I find, by the way, a very interesting perspective. And whether that does have, but that is a different conversation, right? I would not belong to that group of people, right? It's not at all that you are, being very conscious and with open eyes getting into a situation. Divorce is an option. What will we do if that would happen? That is not the thing that I objected to. What I object to is the element of God, my English is so bad today. Gleichgültigkeit. The element of
indifference.
Thank you. The element of indifference. That's how you presented it. That there is no hierarchy of it's better if we stayed together versus if we didn't stay together. It being indifferent, both being equally good options.
But I think that this is a misunderstanding.
No, but it's not a misunderstanding. Because in that moment where we talked about it, I know that that's how you mean it now. I know that now when we talk to it, also about the conversations we have back then, it is a very clear, no, I would just have been capable to flourish under those circumstances as well. But it was the indifference with which you said it. Yeah, but I remember we were talking about it back then. And I remember that I called you out on that.
I also remember. And I remember also you saying it back then. And this indifference is not because I would have felt indifferent. Also not back then. I don't think.
But that is But that is what we were struggling with.
The indifference is because I was saying it so nonchalantly. This is I think where you're taking the indifference from. But I'm telling you, I didn't feel indifferent. The reason why I was saying it so easily, and maybe maybe I shouldn't say it so easy. I mean, I'm fine with discussing that my tone of voice should not have been so or the way I presented it, whatever, the image, should not be so nonchalant.
But emotion attached to it. Yes, I believe the emotion attached to it was
I'm telling you, it's not that I would have felt emotionally.
Because to be perfectly honest,
I would not have felt indifferent to it. I just acknowledged it. Also, because I am a child of divorce, as you are too, I acknowledge it as a very realistic option that could happen in my life.
Here we go. You just said a very realistic option. I would not want to have kids with someone where the option of separation is very realistic. But I would want to have kids with someone there are certain people that you have kids with and the option is more unimaginable than with others.
But let me explain.
I would want to have kids with someone with the option of being almost unimaginable. Of course, it's not impossible. impossible. It's never impossible. And you should have the conversations of that possibility if something happens. But there is a huge difference between it being a very realistic possibility.
Look, I think this is just a matter of wording. It's just a matter of wording. No, but it really is.
No.
Because when I say
because when
that
these
the
people,
option is
when you're talking about the people that get married, despite, when the first thing happens, then getting divorced, is because they are not honest enough with themselves of how realistic a divorce could be. And the fact that you were super realistic, good on you, it's probably one of the reasons why, despite not being married, you are, so unimaginably far from a point of separation.
But I really want to explain what I mean, because I don't want this to be misunderstood. When I say that, or what you described, that I'm indifferent, or when I say there is a very realistic chance of separation, I don't base this on the condition of of my relationship right now, on the present condition of my relationship. When I say this, I find my relationship very functional.
Absolutely.
Right now, I am super happy, I don't see a separation anywhere near me, nowhere in sight.
A comment, by the way, you wouldn't have given me 5 years ago, by the way, because I asked you exactly that.
What?
When I
said,
said,
did I say that I see a separation somewhere close inside?
You said no, but you said no, but you did. I mean, I remember we also had a conversation about the shift of that perspective within you. That back then you were actually less sure about the potential it lasting for 20 years versus now. That now you're much more.
Of course,
likely
with
to see
every
it.
year that goes by, I feel
Sure.
I think that's normal. I feel like it's stronger and stronger with every year that goes by. Or in an ideal case, that's normal. And I feel this is how it is for us. But nowhere in sight did I see a separation when I was pregnant. I didn't think, oh yeah, next year we're probably not going to be together.
No, but you did say that it's not necessary that you it's not
Yes,
it's not
and
a
this is what
necessary
I'm getting
plan
to.
to stay together
No,
until they're raised.
But
that's
this is
it.
what
It's
I'm
not
trying-
a necessary plan.
No, but this is what I'm trying to get to, because this is also what I would say today. I would also say, that it is a realistic option to be separated, that yes, I am aware of the fact that we're not necessarily going to stay together forever, and not because of the condition our relationship is in. If someone asked me, how's your relationship? I would say, it's effing great. It's great. And I'm super happy. But I am also capable of understanding that, number one, dynamics change, that, life events happen that are, super influential, and that things can happen. And I believe, really, I believe it so strongly that the reason why up to now, and again, I don't want to be on a high horse because it's not like I'm in a 20-year relationship right now, but, other people have better experience talking about this. But I believe that the reason why we have continued growing closer to each other all the time in these past 6 years is because I am, and he also is, so acknowledging of the fact that there is this danger. It's almost like it makes me think of the fact of, before going on stage, acknowledging the danger of possible failure.
Right.
That we are acknowledging the option of possible failure, that this is an option, that it's not like, okay, we're never going to fail super clearly because we love each other, that this is what makes us not fail.
Okay, I would like to add out, I agree with the not taking your partner for granted. Absolute
Yes, but
aspect.
it's more than just not taking...
But for me, I would wish for my relationship, obviously, because I don't have one to take that, say things from. I would wish that the reason why that happens is not out of a fear of failure, but out of a love and actual constant appreciation for the other person. I'm sure the one doesn't needn't exclude the other, but I'm trying to, what I'm saying is that all that, be that as it may, for me, there is, again, it's the spectrum of how you feel about the person, right? And for me, if you've reached the level of feeling of not, it's a realistic possibility, but it is an improbable thing that would have, many things would have to go wrong for that to happen, Many things would have to go differently than planned, would have to be not reflected upon, not discussed in time for the separation to become an option, like a better option than staying together. And if you've arrived at a place with that person that you feel that way about that person, I think on the one hand, it's a wonderful emotional feeling to get married to that person, number one. And number two, I think that being able to say that, no, it's not the plan to stay together for the next 20 years is very weird to me.
I understand that it's weird. And I understand what you're saying. I understand that it's unromantic also. I understand that it
For me,
instills
it's fear-driven.
No, I understand that it instills the fear.
That's what it is.
Well, to me, it's the opposite of fear-driven. That's why I understand that for you, it looks fear-driven. But I can tell you that for me, it's the opposite of fear-driven. It's courageous. But I understand that it instills the fear of, lack of commitment from the other side, because it sounds like, oh, I might be gone in a jiffy, or more easily.
No, but I'm talking about fear to commit to the person.
I understand.
Okay,
yeah. But I think that, first of all, I think we shouldn't kid ourselves of how quickly this can happen, because you say, so many things have to happen to get to that point. If our two parents, who obviously loved each other enough to make us two, got divorced, that also means something. How many people do we know that must have loved each other so much?
But I think that those
got divorced.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens. It happens.
Of course.
And I think that for me, this is just where we agree to disagree, and I respect your perspective.
I respect your perspective.
But
as well.
I also find it, yes, I know you respect, but before you came off very patronizing of that perspective.
The thing that I just disagree with is, I don't remember how it started, but when you were saying that, all right, because you said,
we might not be together.
No. You said that I decided to have that commitment when we had children.
Yeah, but
and I don't think that's what happened.
No, but
I think that what
that
happened is that you decided, or that you both kind of got into that decision by doing the things with each other and reaffirming that commitment with each other again and again through time.
That also, I'm not denying that also, but I completely stand
could
by
arrive at a wedding, usually.
For sure, yeah. But I completely stand by that I made that decision when I made the decision to have kids with him. And I remember it as if it were yesterday, the conversations that we had that were so important, the points that we went through that were discussed, and I'm not just talking in one evening, I'm talking about over weeks, of course.
For sure.
And that was the moment that I decided where we went so far as to discuss details, such as, what will happen if I have a concert, if you do that? How will my we were talking about my happiness, his happiness, and the kids' happiness as three happiness entities, and how are we going to make sure that all of them are met?
Yeah.
And that, for me, was the decision-making process.
No, I understand that. I still, as I said, there is a difference to me. If you decide to have children because you know that having children with this person without separation would work, and having children with this person with separation would work. That's a wonderful, safeguard the happiness of your children in either scenario. However, I do think that those two...
Or we also discussed how to avoid separation.
But those two options of separation, yes or no, cannot be on a balanced perspective. It has to be, for me, it has to be almost impossible. Discuss it as a scenario of what would happen if a meteorite would strike the Earth.
I think the comparison of going on stage and acknowledging failure is kind of the same probability that we're looking at. It's also probably, let's say 99% of the concerts, you're not going to fail, completely.
Right.
But there is the 1% chance that you're going to fail.
Yeah.
I see it on the same scale. Of course not 50-50, but it is a very realistic option. When I go on stage, I know that it is a very realistic option that I can fail.
Not very realistic. Again, you can stack the cards in your favor, or you can stack them not in your favor.
Of course I'm stacking them in my favor.
And if you stack, if the person that is stacking them in the favor, because you're in the scenario of children, stacking the cards in your favor is finding someone who's compatible, that's very compatible with you,
and
right?
I've stacked the cards in my favor.
For me, it's very nice and okay, and by the way, that's the point that I was trying to make them before, is that right now we've kind of said that because you managed to stack the cards in your favor with him without getting married, that's somehow an argument against getting married.
but
because
that's,
to get to the original
that's not my point.
discussion of the wedding as a ritual,
no,
yes or
that's not my
yeah,
point.
no, I know.
No,
but I'm
my
just saying,
point was that the decision that many people make connected with marriage, that you said, two people, it's something so beautiful that two people make the decision to be together for better
without.
or for worse. I said, I feel like I made that decision when we made the decision to have kids.
Yeah.
I feel like there was no need now for me to get married to make that decision because that decision was made then.
Yes, I understand that, and I never said that marriage is the only way with which, especially nowadays, in order to arrive at a potential lifelong commitment. No, but what we agree with that. But we agreed with that already before the discussion. The thing that I'm saying is that just because something is not necessary to get that commitment doesn't mean that it is not beneficial, or doesn't mean that it is not worthy of doing it. And that's where I don't see wedding as the way in order to ensure that commitment, proven by all the weddings that have happened with subsequent divorces or subsequent clarity of how
you just would like it for yourself.
No clear commitment had been made in that way that you did. I'm just saying that just because it's possible without doesn't mean you should do it without. But
it also doesn't mean you should do it with.
But for me, it doesn't mean you should do it with. It does need negative reasons of wedding. It does, why wouldn't you do it? Because this and this is something you dislike, which is what you said with the financial belonging to someone and this and this and that.
Look,
I agree you don't need it.
What
I don't necessarily agree with is why would you avoid it?
Right.
That's
I completely respect your choice of wanting to be married. And up to now, having said that, as you know, we are discussing marriage.
So I feel very much that shows that my perspective is kind of valid.
No. Your perspective is super valid. No, for sure.
Valid even for you who is super against it.
First of all, no decision has been made. Second of all,
I feel like I did a very bad step in the direction of you again not wanting to get married with this conversation.
Second of all, if I were to get married, it would be because of, reasons that are important to me and him. And this is not to create a common financial entity. This is not to be one entity in front of God.
Again, never things that I would value.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
It could be, something that we've also discussed, to be one entity in front of the kids, for example.
Why? Okay.
Could be
if it's all the same, why do you think the kids would see differently?
Well, first of all,
I agree that they would.
I don't right now think that they see anything differently. This is something that we were discussing because also you mentioned that you knew about some other kids.
But you do agree that that's you do understand that perspective.
That could be a perspective, but not 100%. I don't know. Maybe actually when the kids are at that age, it's not going to make any difference. I don't know. I'm saying that this could be one motivating factor. I don't think the kids see any difference. Because we live together.
I would argue that, the kids are very little to understand the difference, but I'm saying that I would argue that there is something understandable about kids preferring the image of their parents being married towards them not being married, despite being together.
Connected, and as you said, a lot of changes are happening right now.
So you think it's just a societal pressure that the kids then would kind of also be under the influence?
I think so. I think this is why it's like this right now, and I don't know what it's going to be like in 10 years. But this could be one reason. The one thing that I could imagine with the kids is name related, that everyone has the same name. Maybe, that they feel like, I want to have the same name as both my parents. I don't know. I'm just saying. Yes, but, it would be reasons that are important to us. And then in the end, also, for example, because this is kind of where the discussion is coming from in the first place, he actually told me recently that he feels like maybe he would like the symbol of being married to me. And this, for me, is a huge reason to consider. If it is important to him, my partner in crime.
But it's a symbol you don't understand.
Well, we would discuss what exactly. I'm just saying that this would, of course, be something or is something, for me to consider if the symbol has a certain meaning to him. be it because of his history, or be it because of how he sees it. He's also not a religious person, so it's not that, but it's something else. So
what else?
Well, as I said, the discussion is not over yet.
Okay.
Up to now, I'm just telling you where we're at.
Okay.
Yeah, we're nowhere final. Okay, I'm gonna keep you up to date here. But this, of course, is something for me to consider as well. We're in this together, and I'm the first person that is willing to, move to a different direction as long as I understand it and agree with the value behind it. And
right, and I mean,
so I'm just saying we are discussing marriage as an option. It's not decided. And it's also, for me, very important that we're discussing it now, where we have already lived through everything that we have lived through together.
And have 2 kids.
And exactly. And have 2 kids and have made the choices that I believe are so often associated with marriage, where people think, okay, if you're married, then it's going to work, that has already worked. Right. That for me is an important factor.
I would never say that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that for my psychological feeling, it is important that we have already mastered all of that.
Yeah.
And that if we get married, it is really a voluntary free will decision.
I mean, I think...
Do you understand what I mean?
It is the cherry
on the cake that we have already baked.
Right.
We're not getting married in order to bake the cake. The cake is there. We have a family.
I understand that.
But I live in a house.
I feel that you can...
We have moved already to
I don't know if it's
homes.
necessary to have a family to have baked the cake.
No,
although
but
I understand that you're extra sure now.
In my specific
No, I
situation.
totally understand. I totally understand that. I mean, I feel that you can have baked the cake and get married.
Also differently, yes.
Also
but
differently.
I'm saying in my
I totally understand. Yeah. But to me, it's again what I like, the way I what I hear, or at least what I feel like is part of that decision making, is that you were less sure 5 years ago than you are now about him.
I feel like I
as
get
a potential.
Sure every day.
Of course,
I mean,
right?
That's normal.
And marriage and the wedding
and
and the wedding happens when you're sure enough to feel like this could be it, right? And that's how the wedding always happens.
No, but it's funny that you say, because actually what is something that I said very early on, like way before I met him, when I was at school still.
But I feel, by the way, that that's an important thing, that I believe the way you approach wedding and marriage is the same way that I would, or everyone does. It's, when are you sure enough to say yes?
No, but that's exactly
okay,
because when I was still at school, already like post our parents divorcing, I would always say that the way I want to get married is after having basically lived most of my life with my partner, that we are, let's say, 60 years old, and then because we know that we are that we can do it so much, then we get married as a celebration of the past life, of the already happened life. And it's because you said, when are you sure enough? And I just remembered this now. I haven't remembered it for a long time, that I used to say when I was young, that, I want to do it after we have already done it.
Yeah.
Because I think that what is inside me already, what was inside me then, is that I want to do the things that are expected of marriage without having the marriage, just do it because I want to do them, because this is what I actually feel like doing. I mean, and then get married as, a celebration that you did them.
I mean, the thing to think about is that, again, why does not doing because you have to do them? You can be married and do them voluntarily. No, this I understand. But I mean, when we were discussing, it was also not just the personal choice, but it was
I
the
remembered
objective thing
of how I described it as a young girl. And I feel now how it still resonates with me.
Right, and I do kind of still... by the way, I just got an idea of a marriage thing for you, but I'm going to say it afterwards because you said that, the resonating. But again, it sounds to me like...
I mean, it's not better or worse.
First of all, three things.
Something for me.
It seems like you respect the commitment of marriage and ensuing wedding even more than other people, which in my mind would actually mean that you understand its value more than other people, which kind of goes against thinking that it's unnecessary. However, that's the one mini thought that I have.
Like what I put on a pedestal, let's put it in those words. What I put on a pedestal is the forever part of it.
And you should. One should put it on a pedestal. And the other thing is that the fact that, you would only want to jump into the word forever when forever has already happened. shows to me a bit of a lack of desire to take a leap of faith.
But
that
that's
leap
not
of
true
faith.
because I'm not saying I don't want to be with someone forever, right? I'm
But you
saying
wanna
in all
say-
these examples, and now I'm even living it, like as a little girl, I didn't know I
Right.
would. In all these examples, I do try to make forever happen with somebody. You know, it's not that I don't make it happen. I just, in my mind, that's the only distinction. I want to make it happen without being forced to make it happen because I made that promise and now there's no way out. I want to make it happen because it's actually working, because I'm actually happy to make it happen. So
Yeah.
it's not like I don't want to try, you know, to put in the
Yes.
effort.
Yeah,
I
but of
want to
course
put
the
in
leap of
effort.
faith is more leapy if a wedding is attached to it than if not.
Well, or when you have kids. This is what I'm saying. I find like that's
Yeah.
the biggest leap of faith.
Of course, that's the
Because
biggest
again,
leap
as
of
a child of divorce, of course, what am I
But
most
which is, by the
scared
way-
of? I'm most scared of, you know, giving my kids the trauma that I experienced. So when I decide to have kids,
Right, yeah.
I kind of decide
for me kind of also showed the fact that again, if you are willing to have kids with someone but still think that there is something I don't know, like unrealistic or dishonest of attaching a wedding to it, there's also the reason why I was so shocked when you said this. No, it's not a plan to stay together 18 years, because that almost seemed to me like it is disrespect of the commitment on having children.
Yes, and
because how would you dare
I understand what
have
you're saying.
children
Yeah.
without having the plan
But
to stay
I
together?
feel like it's a lie to myself almost to get married at, let's say, 20 years old, you know, where I have no clue what's going to happen. And then I feel like the way I would like to do it is to already have gone through all those difficult moments and then do it as the cherry
and then
on the
of course
cake.
there is, I'm sure, also an element to it where I wouldn't definitely not use that as the primary reason, but just as a reason to also think about it, that especially for most people, that if of course you're married, you're gonna, you know, go through one extra tough phase in life before you separate versus if you're not married, you know?
Yeah, like separation is harder.
Like separation is harder. And I do think that unless like
But
you get
if
married
have
to
kids,
someone
again, I feel like that's the hardest to make the decision to be separated.
Yeah, of
I mean,
course.
if you would say married without kids
Right,
and unmarried
of
with
course,
kids,
of course,
separation is harder.
for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, you know, I do really believe in this going through life with one person.
I understand it, and
that
I
is
respect it, and I see it. I see it for you, and I also understand where you're coming from. But do you also understand where I'm coming from?
The thing that my actually feeling about this whole conversation is that we want the same thing.
Of course, we want the same thing, but
I just
want
don't
it
understand
from two different angles.
Right, we want the same. I just don't
You
understand
want to
why
make
the
promise
symbol
before, and I want to make the promise after. That's the only difference.
Exactly. But and I feel like the technicality of not wanting to make the promise to always have the maximum amount of freedom or
Yeah, but I can
independence
say the same
is
thing
kind
about-
of like
you can say
wanting
that's
the cake, like
ridiculous.
baking your cake and eating it too type of thing.
I mean, you can say
maybe?
that's ridiculous, but I can also say, you know, it's just as ridiculous the technicality of wanting to make a promise instead of just doing it, just living it. You know, it's the same amount of
But
ridiculousness.
one is like double, it's you're doing it and you're making the promise, and one is just univariate, you're just living it
Well,
without
but
the
I can
promise.
also say, what
of
do you
course,
need the
the
promise
living
for?
it is more
Yeah,
important than the
yeah.
promise. Well, you know, because it's like many things
It's just
in
how
life.
it works for me.
No, I get it.
And
I'm
this
not-
is how it works for you, apparently. I mean, you haven't done it yet, so let's not
yeah.
pretend that it's working
Yeah,
for you.
Right. No, but I'm just, but I just think that it is important to
I'm gonna
note.
love it if you meet your like life partner and then you're gonna be like, I actually don't want to get married.
The only way I see myself not getting married is if the
If he
person
doesn't want to.
exactly.
Yeah.
If like you know, if the person that I want
Same of how I'm seeing myself getting married if he wants to.
exactly. Oh, like right. And but I do think, and I would like to, maybe I should say that as my, let's get to story time right now.
Story time.
Because
I think, by the way, that this is such a double episode.
that is such a so unexpected double episode.
So unexpected.
Right, yeah.
And I love how we didn't talk about rituals anymore, but full on wedding stuff.
Yeah.
But that's
yeah.
okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
We
We'll
really
see how we're going to have to cut this now.
We're going to be talking about weddings.
But
in the
I would
second
like
part
to
of the
say as
episode.
my story, very organically out of this, I remember it literally happened a couple of weeks ago, both when you called me and you were like, Kiveli, my partner is starting to talk about wedding with me.
Uh-huh.
He's thinking about engagement, how he would how I would want to get engaged to him. And then the last time we were together, and we had a long conversation in our
Yes.
kitchen where you were telling about like, you know, this your thoughts about
Yeah.
the fact that wedding is on the table, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
marriage is on the table. And I know you had, some notable concerns and thoughts that you had that, were the same thoughts.
I still
that
do,
had,
by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
But I pointed out and I saw that twinkled look in your eye of a part of you just being, truly excited and like in a way, excitement that comes from like a place that you're almost a bit giggly, almost a bit like, and about the fact that he wanted to do that with you, and that is a thing that you might now be talking about, within all the criticism and the skepticism of how are we going to do it, I don't want it to be this way, I don't want to have that typical bride, within all of that, there was an uncontrollable twinkle inside of you that shows me like, that is what the wedding is about.
Well,
that is.
I have so many thoughts again.
Not wedding, but you know what I mean? Like, and by the way, I love that twinkle.
Yes, but can I say something?
Okay.
First of all, I mean, obviously, there's such a joy in having someone tell you, especially the person you love, I want to make that promise to you. Of course, I mean, no question asked. Now, does that also worry me because of everything that we discussed in the past 2 hours? Yes, it does, and it doesn't take away from that. And I still ask myself, is it time for that twinkle, let's say, to become reality, or is it not time yet for me? I don't know. I haven't answered that question. We haven't answered that question yet. It's just something that we're discussing. It doesn't mean at all that we'll be married next year. We could also get married in 5 years, I don't know, or not at all after all.
But I was just trying to say that.
But I just want to say that, yes, of course that twinkle exists. Of course that joy exists, because in the end, that is the goal. The goal is, let's find the life partner. This is, how my entire life has been going. How I've directed my entire life. Having kids is, the goal is to become old together. Is marriage going to be part of that? I don't know. We'll see. We'll just have to see.
It's so going to be part of that. It's so going to be. I mean, I know it's going to be a part of it.
You know it.
I know
well,
it.
Thank God Kiveli knows it.
I know it.
Thank
and I'm
God
looking forward to
Kiveli
it like
knows it.
crazy.
I love it.
And all the rituals you're not going to do in your wedding for whatever weird reason, you're going to do in my wedding with your, at that point, already husband.
Got it.
I love it.
I love it. I love it. Thank God Kiveli's going to be overtaking my wedding.
No, I'm not going to be overtaking your wedding. No, I'm super respectful of all the things you don't want to do or want to do differently or, want to change up.
I love it. Such a wedding episode when the time comes.
I'm just so excited that in your version of it, in your comfort zone, it's starting to look like it might be a possibility.
That's true. That's true.
That's what I'm excited about.
Absolutely true.
And I'm excited about these conversations because I'm not going to say because because you're going to separate from it.
The past episode,
Doesn't matter.
So am I coming up with a wedding story right now?
I don't know. You can.
Okay. I mean, I guess there's just the obvious story of the fact that Kiveli has planned her wedding in complete detail without having the husband.
I don't think that's uncommon. That's uncommon for
Is it?
girls.
Okay, I don't know. I never did that.
No, I know. But I think many girls envision their wedding.
I mean, to the extent that she knows locations.
But
she knows dinner arrangements.
Yeah.
The way the stage is, the dance floor is supposed to be in the reception after the ceremony.
Yes.
Size approximately, only approximately the size.
The size of the wedding?
Yeah.
Big,
but I mean, how big is that approximately?
Yeah.
Location, obviously.
Yeah, but hang on. There is a very easy reason why so much is so clearly formed in my mind is because we come from an incredibly beautiful village on the island of Lesbos in Molivos.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it is a location where many people travel to that have no connection, they want to get married. And obviously, from the first time I was imagining my wedding,
it was there.
I was imagining doing it in the village where I come from, So it's a very normal tradition. It's not like I found this one beautiful looking venue in God knows where.
But I mean, even within the village, you've decided on locations. I've decided
because I mean, I know what feels special to me,
and
I know what's possible, and also it's everything would be beautiful that you do there,
Yeah.
no matter which
Yeah.
location you
No,
choose.
it's just this ongoing joke in our family
Yeah.
that, you
Yeah.
know, I'm in a very committed relationship and, you know, have not even thought about planning wedding. And Kiveli, who's
Yeah.
single, has already planned the entire wedding.
So I think it's because
like,
very
the
clear
invitations are basically already out.
Who the more romantically inclined sister is.
So
I think
this
it's
gives you a
quite
picture
clear.
of the past conversation.
And it's going to be a beautiful wedding.
And it will be. And
Yeah.
I will be your super incredible
I know.
bridesmaid.
And you're
there.
going to enjoy it.
And I will enjoy it.
I know.
I mean, I'm going
to
do the hugest bridal surprises that you can imagine. My kids will be flower boys or whatever you need them to be.
There are going to be so many things.
They're going to be
The
so
rings,
many things.
ring
Ring bearers. They're
Absolutely.
going to do it all. They're going to do it all.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Rings, whole other topic that I don't feel comfortable with. But
Love rings. I love rings. Although we've spoken about like the
this is one thing that I and my partner have decided: if we are to get married, we are not going to wear rings.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, personally, I also love wearing rings.
love
and
wearing
I don't
rings
wear rings
anyway.
right now,
Yeah.
but in my everyday
Yeah.
life, and I do think that I think I'd be very I've told you that I have a very specific vision of the
Yes.
ring, not in terms of how it's supposed to look, but more like how it's supposed to not look. Like I don't
Right.
want a traditional wedding
Yes.
ring, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whole other situation.
Yeah.
But interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ritual of wedding, I would say, should we quickly
Shall we wrap up? Okay, so that was that. We talked about rituals and weddings.
rituals and the wedding ritual.
And the wedding ritual.
Yeah.
So, we hope you enjoyed this episode. And the next episode is going to be the episode on recreational drug use.
Exactly.
So,
another discussion episode that we have passionate views
Yes.
on, although probably more concurring views.
yeah, I
on
think
than
we're more on
wedding
the same
one.
page. Yeah. So, we hope you had fun with that. Sending
And,
you all our love from Berlin.
And see you next week. Lots of love. Bye.
You're listening to The Sister Drill with Danae and Kiveli.